Well, so far we've had a good look at three important modes: the Dorian, the Phrygian, and the Lydian, those white note scales that started on D, on E, and on F, respectively. Now let's have a quick look at the remaining ones, starting with the one that begins on G and rises up through the octave on white notes. Now this one is called, don't panic, this one is called the Mixolydien mode. And despite its tongue-twisting name, it's one of the most appealing and popular modes of all. Again, like its neighbor, the Lydian, it's a major mode, as you can hear. And also, like the Lydian, it has one peculiar note in it, only this time it's a different peculiar note. See if you can tell which it is. Here is a normal G major scale. Now, here's the Mixolydien scale, and perhaps you'd care to clap again when you hear the one odd note. Very fine. It's the seventh tone. The leading tone, which is half a tone lower than the normal, for which you will not clap, right? No. This is the normal one, which is higher. This is the abnormal one, right. Now, this is the only major mode that has a lowered seventh tone, or lowered leading tone. And believe it or not, most of the jazz and Afro-Cuban music and rock and roll tunes we hear owe their very existence to this old Mixolydian mode, like this Cuban riff. That's just Mixolydian. Now, do you hear how that lowered seventh note makes that jazz sound? Of course, the examples I could give you are endless, but just to take a recent smash hit. My baby does the hanky-panky. Mixolydian. Could you believe it? Or do you remember a really terrific song, a barbaric number of a few years ago, sung by a group known as the Kinks? It's called You Really Got Me. Girl, you really got me going. You got me so I can't sleep at night. Yeah, you really got me now. You got me so I don't know what I'm doing. Yeah, you really, da-da-da. That's old Mixolydian. Or I wonder if you know that absolutely charming Beatles tune called Norwegian Wood. You hear that lowered seventh? That's what gives it its charm, and that's what makes it Mixolydian. They're all Mixolydian. Now again, I don't want to give you the idea that this mode produces only jazz and pop music. It's still to be heard as much in churches as in discotheques. And in fact, our old friend Debussy, when he wanted to suggest a cathedral rising out of the sea in that famous piano piece of his called The Sunken Cathedral, uses this same Mixolydian mode. Isn't that a wonderfully impressive sound? And years ago, I don't mean my sound, I mean Debussy's sound. And years ago, when I was writing my first ballet, Fancy Free, I also used this Mixolydian mode for one of the dances, since it was a Cuban-style number called a danzón. I naturally used this mode from beginning to end. So it ought to make a good example. Here it is, and I hope you like it.